She laces up her shoes at sunrise, camera in her hand, hope in her eyes. Dust on the trail, sky open wide, talking about grace with every stride. Welcome to Lori's Soul Circle. Come walk a little while, talking faith, talking courage, laughing, crying, finding light inside. Step by step, she reminds you, you are stronger than you knew. Lori's Soul Circle, God's love walking with you. She's breathing out fear on the hillside, turning every hurt into a highlight. Little roadside cross, she nods her head, says, you ain't alone in the words he said. Welcome to Lori's Soul Circle. Come walk a little while, talking faith, talking courage, laughing, crying, finding light inside. Step by step, she reminds you, you are stronger than you knew. Lori's Soul Circle, God's love walking with you. She says, lift your eyes, even when the path gets steeper. Every valley, every question, he's still leading with your feet. So you walk, so you breathe, you believe. Welcome to Lori's Soul Circle. Come walk a little while, talking faith, talking courage, laughing, crying, finding light inside. Step by step, she reminds you, you are stronger than you knew. Lori's Soul Circle. Come walk a little while, talking faith, talking courage, laughing, crying, finding light inside. Step by step, she reminds you, you are stronger than you knew. Lori's Soul Circle, God's love walking with you.
Good morning, everybody. Hopefully, everybody can hear me okay. I forgot to have the right scene on this morning when I started. Oh well. Um, and Scott, I don't know how to tell how many people are on the stream. Like I thought it was up here listed somewhere, so I will text you after this to find out. Anyway, so I saw Scott and Peter. Hello, guys. And I saw Oki join just here a minute ago. So how are you, hon? And M, don't feel bad. I have been off a day all week. As I was sitting around all Tuesday afternoon, wondering what I could be doing, then I realized that I totally missed Rob, the Maritimers live stream. So, because I thought all day it was Monday. So it happens. No worries. Debbie Sue, it's good to see you, hon. Yeah, the other day I was on all these live streams. Usually Debbie's there before me wherever I go, but it's like coming home to a friend, right? You know somebody in the chat, so it always makes me feel good. But maybe Monday, I forget exactly which day. Maybe Monday, she wasn't there all day, so it kind of felt like I was in the twilight zone a little bit. Hey, Rhonda, how are you, hon? I saw you make a comment that you're just trying to get back into the swing of things. I hope just take it a day at a time and give yourself some grace, right? I think we're also hard on ourselves as far as the expectations. Yet we would certainly be more graceful with our friends. So I think we need to just turn that inward a little bit. Who else did I miss? Okay, so my teacher asked if I could name A country with no R. I said, no way. That's my. Thank you. See, now you know your price of admission each time, Jason. So, hey, Mike, how are you, hon? Are you still recovering from the weekend? So 8 at the moment. Okay, I know you can tell that from YouTube, but I'm looking, not looking at YouTube. I'm looking at Ecamm, and I know there's a way. I don't readily see it, and it's not intuitive to me. So I'll figure it out. But thank you. Hey, Daryl. Good morning. Let me see. Did I miss anybody? Did I miss anybody? I don't think so. Um, hey, Sally. Hi, hon. How are you? Thank you. I love you right back. Um, so before we start this morning, and which is chapters 14 and 15 of Outlive and its nutrition. So these last 3 weeks are like I could have done away with the first 5 weeks, to be honest. Well, maybe not the exercise week, but these next 3 weeks to me are so important. It's what I really wanted out of the book. Unfortunately, I didn't know we had to go through a lot of stories and science stuff before we got to what I feel really matters. But um, before we start, I wanted to ask if it would be okay if we could just take a minute, and I was going to just say a prayer. A friend of mine's husband was out riding his bike and he went into cardiac arrest, doing something he's probably done 100 times. And they're just kind of sitting in that in between that I talk about, not knowing what's going to happen. The first 24 to 72 hours are critical. He's on a ventilator. They had to put him in to an induced coma. They don't know. Thankfully, it was a very popular bike path, but they don't know how long he was without oxygen to the brain. So I know this family is very faith oriented. So I thought, well, I know there's power in numbers. There's, scientific research on that. And I also know that in my heart. So I thought if I could just open with a prayer for him and for his family, and um, you don't have to do anything. I guess, just say amen at the end. That's all. Um, Dear God, we bring Andy before you right now, and we ask that you put your hands on his body and do what only you can do. Steady his heart and protect his brain, and breathe life right back into every part of him that needs restoration. And be there for Kathy. Hold her up and give the doctors the wisdom that they need. And above all else, remind his family that you are always there. You are there in the room with him. You are not far. We don't know the outcome, Lord, but you do. And for now, that will have to be enough. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, thank you. Wasn't sure I'd get through that. And I wasn't going to actually do the live stream this morning, but I'm like, you know what? This whole book is about this, right? I mean, we never know. We never know what's going to happen. And I don't even know what's happened to him, like as far as why he went into cardiac arrest. But to I mean, it could be genetic, it could be a lot of things, right? But at the same time, I believe we also have control over how we take care of our bodies. We need this vessel. It is the only way our soul can be here. And I think a lot of times we give our agency away to others to tell us what to do, which is the whole reason I even wanted to do this. And my husband was the one who suggested this book. I'm going to have to be a little bit more, a little bit better. But again, these last few chapters aren't too bad. So I have a lot of notes, and I'm not sure if Jen was able to join. She wasn't sure if she'd be able to, but she was kind enough to send me some notes for things that stood out to her. And I don't know if anybody's reading along or not, but the thing he said from the very beginning in this chapter, in the nutrition chapter, is he said he was not going to give a diet. He was not going to tell people how they should eat or what diet they should follow. What he did say is he wanted to give a framework for how you think about eating. And there was three different levers, he said. It's what you eat, how much you eat, and when you eat. And he says it doesn't matter what diet is out there, whether it's, the Mediterranean, the keto, the intermittent fasting, whole plant. It all addresses a couple of these levers that he talks about. That's all it is. There's nothing special, there's nothing magical about any of them. And the one thing he said that doesn't get enough um, I guess, FaceTime is protein. He said most of us, especially folks in their midlife or later, are severely under eating protein. And he said the consequences are enormous. And he actually said how much protein we should be eating. It's like a gram of protein, 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight per day. He said, which is significantly higher than what the standard guidelines are. So he says most Americans aren't even getting half of that. Um, so let me see if Jen said anything about. She said, we know relatively little about complete certainty regarding our nutrition. One general rule he used was if your grandmother doesn't know what those ingredients are, you probably shouldn't eat it. There are inherent flaws with the two kinds of research when it comes to nutrition. Epidemiological studies provide most of our data around nutrition, and these kinds of studies can't differentiate between correlation and causation. Therefore, we don't know if the food being deemed bad actually caused the negative outcome or was just associated with that study. And she said there's too many variables in the clinical trials that are out there. She said humans do not make good study subjects. And one of the things Peter Attia had said was that yeah, there are so many gurus. There's not a whole lot of regulation around the diet industry. And if you go on Amazon, there's like tens of thousands of diet books out there, right? So it's really hard to figure out what would work. And that's the thing is he did say that it's very personal. A diet is very personal. What works for me doesn't work for the next person. Um, Attia was one of the extremists previously into keto and long-term intermittent fasting, which healed his metabolic syndrome. He now follows a more balanced approach, focusing on individuals through personalized medicine, like your blood test, your biomarkers, your scans. Um, Let me see. Let me go back to the comments, see if anybody else has any questions. Um, he did not demonize, the carbohydrates, which I think it does get a lot of negative press these days. But carbohydrate, each person tolerates them differently. Some can handle them very well. Some people can't handle them at all. I feel I can't handle them at all. And he said a couple key markers to watch for is your fasting glucose should be under 100, and your fasting insulin should be under 6. And he said the fasting insulin, most labs won't even test it. All right, let me just go back to the comments. Um, oh, did CL pop in? Hey, CL, how are you, hon? No worries. Just glad you could join. Um, Thank you, Em. Thank you. Thank you for the prayers, everybody. Thank you, Sally. Hey, good morning, Pam. How are you, hon? See, when I skip all the hellos, look how quickly I get through it. I'm supposed to be on a high protein diet. I don't get anywhere near enough. Yeah, I think we all are, Debbie Sue. I eat a lot of protein and I still don't think I'm getting enough. I mean, we eat a lot of protein in this house. We have protein every single night for dinner. And I still don't think I get enough. Um, how many grams do you need, Debbie Sue? 80, 100? Yeah, because he said 1 gram per body weight, right? The epidemic in America of people avoiding protein is shocking. Yeah, it is, Scott. And part of it is, they almost make it sound like it's bad for you. I know they definitely demonize red meat. Um, but then, all the scare with all the chickens that we've had over the last several years. I mean, what was it with the chicken flu or whatever it was? People were afraid to eat chickens. There was a time that people wouldn't eat eggs because they felt that, the cholesterol in the eggs wasn't, um, didn't outweigh the protein in the eggs. I don't necessarily believe in that. I think eggs is a huge source of protein. So I think there's a lot of, downplay about protein. So, um, oh, you just said we were taught since the 70s that beef and eggs are bad and not to eat lots of grains. Terrible advice. They're only now realizing it was backwards. Yes, yes, right. I just said that, right? Red meat um, and the eggs, and we eat a lot of both in this house. The thing about books is anybody can write one, regardless of how qualified they are, to speak about a subject, which can lead to many false narratives, or it opens us. That's 100% true, Peter. Somebody thinks if it's written in the book, in a book or an article or whatever it is, right? Then it's the truth. This is where you kind of have to use your own discernment and do a little bit of research and kind of see what the general rule of thumb is out there. You can't just read one. And I mean, I've been guilty of it, right? There was a time that I thought keto was the way to go for dieting. I'm going back like 20 years or whatever, just because, again, I know my body can't process carbohydrates. I really have to be careful. But that's just me. Doesn't mean that, my husband can eat anything and he loses weight. So everybody's different. And look at that, Scott. We are on that same wavelength today. I've been trying just to eat meat, definitely hard, but good protein. Yeah, it, it is hard, especially with the price of meat these days, Mike. And, um, I know you also camp and whatnot. So sometimes it's hard to have, a lot of protein stored for the weekend in a cooler or whatnot. So, but yeah, just the price of steak is crazy. And I think it's designed that way. I think they want us to stop eating it. Um, hey, good morning. I'm glad you could join and thank you. Um, I add protein shake mixed to my coffee. Yeah, so that's good. That's good, Mike. I know I use creatine and collagen in my coffee every single morning. So I remember growing up that we had to follow the food pyramid, and now we're saying that the food dinner that should be inverted. Yes, right? Right? That recently, but I mean, all you have to do is think about it logically, and I don't have it in front of me, but some of the things that they were saying that you needed, 5, 6, 7 servings of a day. Oh my goodness. It just didn't make sense. It didn't make sense. And when I was talking to Jen about this the other day, it's hard to trust some of the studies, and I'm just going to say it. It's hard to trust some of the studies because the lobbyists will go into these schools like Harvard and they will pay for a research study that is not accurate. It's just not accurate. And so then people, trust it, they believe it, and they go out and eat what they shouldn't be eating. And, then 20, 30, 40, 50 years later, there's problems. So, um, basic guidelines for everyone and then customize for yourself. 100%. There is like a general rule of thumb, right? Like everybody should be having protein, and there is a rule of thumb for the protein. Everybody, should drink so much water. But yeah, then you have to customize it. Hey, Allie, how are you, sweetie? Everyone is different. I've been to multiple nutritionists. They were all type 1 diabetic and knew what they were teaching. Not everyone getting a college degree has practical life knowledge. That's 100% CL. And again, that goes back to, I said, I was going to say I suggested, but I actually said it in a video that I have not published yet. But That's one thing that I've learned is I would rather learn from somebody that has been down in the well themselves and has gotten them out of it than somebody who has just studied a book, because even some of the books and what's being taught in schools is not 100%. So, but I mean, I'm not saying there aren't good doctors. I'm not saying there's not good nutritionists. There are. There are very caring people. We all know Jen, and look at her. She's extremely caring. She's extremely knowledgeable, and she puts the patient first. So there's a lot of good people out there. So see, I'm glad um, that you have found that's been your experience. I wonder how well they teach in schools today. I swear I'm not reading these notes ahead of time, but yeah, we're all on the same page here, I guess. Butter was also wrongly demonized. Yes. And I said this to Jen the other day that um, it was so demonized that my mother-in-law, and I don't remember when, maybe back 80s, I don't know, 70s, 80s, I don't know when, switched to margarine and fed my father-in-law margarine, and obviously realized how bad that was. But that's what she believed. They was like, oh no, margarine's the way to go, right? With all those seed oils and vegetable oils, and now we've learned it's the worst thing you can do. So yeah, creatine is really good. Yes, it is, Mike. But I want to say not too long ago, maybe 15 years ago, don't quote me, but I remember people being concerned about creatine and telling you shouldn't be taking creatine. And um, I don't remember, but I remember those stories and I remember reading papers. And now it's like, again, in the other direction, especially the older you get, the more you should be taking creatine. So it's almost like, just wait a minute and it's going to change. You got to do your own research. Yeah, got to do your own research. Um, yeah, good question about what's being taught in schools today. I'm telling you, the lobbyists have their hands in everything. So you just got to be careful. And it's hard for people to break out of the system, meaning doctors and nutritionists and um, health advocates like Jen's trying to do, because it's just hard to compete with those corporations. And they're very, if any, I think CL said she still has a private doctor, but most doctors have been sucked up by these corporations. So chat keeps failing to send today. I wonder what is YouTube's problem. Oh, I seem to be getting them. Are they just going slower than usual, Scott? Which is good. Maybe that's why I'm so caught up. Make homemade bone broth and have it every day. I haven't done that, but my two daughters swear by that. They swear by it. They don't make it homemade, but they'll go to Whole Foods and they buy like the best they can buy, and they swear by the bone broth every single day. So, hey Kathy, how are you, hon? Yes, it is doing. Yes, it's doing that to me too. Scott keeps saying error. Oh, okay. Well, it's working on my end because I'm not that far behind. It's been that way for me for a few days. Um, Mike, we saw that you add to your Dr. Pepper. Ah, my dad's heart attack when I was young, and my mom changed everything about how we ate. Yeah, I mean, you don't want it to get to that, right? You don't want it to get to that, but yeah, you have to. And I'll be honest, obviously, hearing what happened to Andy last night, it's always a wake up call. It's just always a wake up call. And the thing is if you saw him, you would be like, he's healthy. He looks healthy. He works out. You know, so you don't know. Hey, Pops, how are you, hun? Good to see everyone. Yes, good to see you. I've had that happen to me a few times as well. Send a message and it says error. Good morning. Good morning. Hello. Has that helped with things, Allie, the new way of eating? I think eating plays a huge role, Peter. I really do. All right, did I get through? I'm just going to hop back on here. So we talked about protein, the non-negotiable, talked about carbohydrates, how they demonize carbohydrates. I talked about fasting glucose, the insulin. Um, he did say, and I think we all know this, the type of carbohydrates you eat matter, right? Fiber-rich carbohydrates, which is vegetables, whole fruits. They're processed differently in our bodies versus the bread, the pastas, the sugar, the sweets, which is my biggest fault is sweets. The fiber slows down absorption, and it helps your gut microbiome. And I also don't think there's enough discussion around the gut and the microbiome in your gut. Um, your gut is actually, I'm sure you've heard this called your second brain. It really controls so much. And the microbiomes in your gut, I think we're just starting to learn about some of them. Um, Let me see if what Jen wrote. But Peter Attia did say that the hidden danger for the ultra processed food is the ultra processed foods. He's clear that the single biggest dietary problem in America is not fat, not carbs, not meat. It's the ultra processed food. And we know that, right? The stuff that's engineered, to last forever. The stuff that's engineered to make you hungrier as you eat it, right? So that you don't satisfy any cravings. That's how it's designed. So you just keep eating. It's just awful. Um, Peter Attia said he grew up in the low fat era and now believes it was one of the worst public health recommendations ever made was the low fat. We had food companies remove fat from their products and they replaced it with sugar. Oh my goodness, I remember times saying, them saying sugar wasn't so bad as long as it didn't have the fat, the sugar wasn't so bad. And the sicker, at least this country is today. And I had, I think I've told you I belong to this coaching program, and my coach in that program just went over to France for a couple of weeks, and France and some other countries over there, because it's really easy to hop around. Scott, you know that, right? Hop around the countries over there. And she said she ate so much, right? She ate so much that she was convinced that she was going to have gained weight when she got back. She lost weight. And I can confirm that because when we went to Italy, the food in Italy is different. Like the food over there is different than the food here in the States. Totally different. The food here in the States is so toxic compared to food elsewhere, or at least in Europe. That's the only place I've been. Um, and she had lost weight. She was there for 2 weeks, nonstop eating, all the pastas, all the different they're big into red meat over there. Didn't gain anything. So again, it's this country. There are things that are, I don't know if outlawed's the right word, but are not allowed in products over in Europe that are allowed here. I mean, how can that be? I guess it has to come down to the money. Um, One of the things he said is dietary fat, going back to fat being or cutting out fat was the worst advice. Dietary fat does not directly cause heart disease in most people. Obviously, everybody can be different. Um, the different types of fat obviously matter. Your genetics matter. Um, and things like the omega-3 fatty acids, your fatty fish, and your nuts like walnuts and stuff. He said those are actually very protective for the heart and the brain. Um, it's the hydrogenated oils that are extremely harmful, but he said in most cases they're trying to remove them from the food supply right now. And then he did briefly touch upon alcohol. Um, in his opinion, there was no level of alcohol consumption that was beneficial. I know sometimes you can hear you can have a glass of red wine and that's kind of healthy for you. This is just his research. Studies have suggested moderate drinking was protective, but he said those have largely been debunked. He said the risk to the liver and cancer risk, especially to breast cancer, it affects your sleep. Um, you know, And like, and one of the things he said, and I don't remember, I think it was the beginning of chapter 14, is no matter what the guidelines are, right? He talks about those levers. It goes back to how much. Everything's in balance. It's all you've ever heard. What did he say in that first balance? Hold on. Um, everything comes down to balance. And he said everybody always focuses on what you eat, but he says what you eat matters less than how much of it you eat. There's your balance, and when you eat it. So think, let me just see what Jen had. I think that was those two chapters. And then the next chapter is actually going to talk about sleep, which I was going to combine that with the last chapter. So I'll see. But I feel sleep is one of those things that does not get enough press. And it is so, so, so important. So important. Um, Forget where I stopped on Jen saying, I really enjoyed his breakdown of the nutritional macronutrients: alcohol, carbohydrates, protein, fat. I especially enjoyed the section on protein and fat because we don't hear as much about them in mainstream media anymore. We hear more about the carbs. We can adjust our consumption of these different macros to improve our metabolic health, but they must be paired with exercise to contribute significantly to health span and lifespan. He has an interesting take on time restricted eating after reading his earlier chapters. Despite the scientific benefits associated with time restricted eating, like we talked about, or maybe we didn't, when you fast, and I believe it's at least 13 hours. If you fast for at least 13 hours, your body goes into something called autophagy, and that's where it actually eats. Did I not talk about this? It's like one of the most important things. It actually eats like the bad cells, right? It eats the cancer cells or the precancerous cells. That's why there's been such a push for like intermittent fasting. Because even if you can have 16 hours of fasting, that gives your body 3 to 4 hours of being able to get rid of some of the bad cells, the junk that's still left in your body. So, but when we're constantly, right, and we're constantly snacking, and I remember there was a time that they said you should not have big meals, that you should just constantly, have these small, tiny meals throughout the day. That's really bad information. I guess it's personal again, but my goodness, you've got to give your body a chance to just not have to process and not have to digest. And another reason sleep is so important, because that's where the bulk of that is while you're sleeping. And if your body isn't in sleep mode, it's not going to do that. So, and autophagy is one of the things that I have added to my lifestyle. So the fasting, the intermittent fasting, um, since after my breast cancer treatments, that was one thing I've done a lot of research on, and it's just something now that is part of my lifestyle. Um, and I also, and Jen told me I should probably give a list, but I did not have time mentally to put a list together. But I do take, I believe there's like 10 or 11 different supplements that I take. And again, some of those supplements are based on my research that I had done um, because of my cancer journey. Though I don't think any of them are bad for anybody. It's just they're more helpful because of the journey that I've been on. So I will put a list together if anybody's interested. And also, the brand, I would say out of those 11, I would say 9 of them are probably one brand, and that's the Pure encapsulation. It's Pure, and it's because of the encapsulation that they do for their product. And the reason I even started researching that brand, because not all brands are the same, right? We just talked about how there's no regulation around some of this stuff, is because there's a couple holistic doctors up here near me that's what they prescribe to their patients is um, the pure vitamins. So um, that's why I've started taking them, and I have had really, really good results with them. Whether it's energy, whether it's emotional health, um, Yeah, a lot of different things. I just feel been very helpful with my running, with just everything. Um, what else did she say? Jen also said, I believe that everyone interested in their current health status should have some baseline lab testing done um, through a service like Quest Diagnostics. I don't know if I shared this, but I mean, I know most doctors' offices will, request your labs or whatever. But over the last, I don't do it every year. I think I've only done it twice since my cancer diagnosis or after treatments. I actually get my own lab work done and I get my own results versus going through the doctor's office. And I go through Quest. So, but she talks about Quest Diagnostics. Um, but everybody should have a baseline, right? You need to know what your baseline is. And she said here that if you're paying out of pocket, most cost less than $100 to get your lab. And for me, yes, it was. But we also have a flex spending account. So I was able to use that. So, okay, so that's Jen's feedback. Let me go back to the comments. Now you see people drink. Oh my goodness, you do. And there's actually, I was watching a lot of how to introduce food to your babies and stuff because, my son um, has a couple children under two or whatever. And that was one of the things they said was to give him pats of butter, Daryl. So yeah, it's done a full 180. My diabetes determined my lifestyle. It's like walking a tightrope. So you also have diabetes, Kathy. I know Daniel has talked about it. CL has talked about it a little bit. Yeah, your numbers, right? You must have to test. Um, I know Daniel tests several times a day. I don't know if everybody does, or if you have to. But yeah, right. You got to keep it in between those numbers. You keep turning up like a bad penny. No, don't listen to him, Pops. I need to start taking better care of myself. I like to put others first and help them out. Yeah, you do. And that kind of goes back, that saying, you got to put the oxygen mask on yourself first, or you're not going to be here to take care of mom and dad or anybody else that needs you to help. And the other thing about nutrition, I will say, is it really does, at least for me, and may not be for everybody, but it plays into my emotional health. When I'm eating good and I'm eating whole foods and I feel better. I just feel better. Um, Mentally, my energy, everything. So I think if people can start cutting out, and listen to me, I need to be listening to this. If people can start cutting out the sugar, the sweets, and I've gotten so much better, but I'm not 100%. I wish I could be. I do. I wish I could be. I think you would see a tremendous change. And we're going to talk about emotional health. I think it's the last chapter. Mm. There you go, Sally. I do too. I like when you find the pennies, right? Health class was an elective when I went to school. Most people took shop class instead. Most people aren't interested. Well, I shouldn't say that because I do feel, and maybe because I'm around my daughters, I don't know, but I do feel it's changing a little bit, Allie. I do feel people are getting more and more interested in it. Or maybe that's just what I'm seeing. That's what shows up in my feed. But, you know, it, it definitely is different. It definitely is different. I can only imagine. Oh my goodness. I can only imagine what, I don't know if I've ever shared this. I think I've shared that, we didn't have a lot of money growing up. So my parents would, I used to call it surplus food. I don't really know what it was called, but a lot of our food came in these gray silver cans. Um, you name it, it came in a gray silver can. And I can only imagine, though maybe back in the 60s and 70s, it probably wasn't as bad as it would be today. But because we all know even stuff today that is still sold today that was sold even 20 years ago, it's not the same. The ingredients are all different. It tastes different. It's just not the same. Even if it's the same product, the ingredients are not the same. I've learned a lot about eating carbs with protein and how that helps with blood sugar. We can create insulin resistance by eating carbs by themselves. Yeah, Pam, I've heard that too. I've heard that too, is how you eat the carbs. I've actually also heard that it helps, like with breads and bagels and whatnot. If you store things in your refrigerator versus just, out on the countertop or in a cabinet or whatnot, that also helps with the way you process the carbs. I mean, it's not a I'm not saying it's a fail safe that you can eat what you want, but it does help you process the carbs better when they're stored. It must do something, the cold must do something to the carb that makes it easier to process. I've seen that now a couple of times. My biggest weakness is pasta. I could eat pasta every day. Pasta is good, but yeah, pasta is definitely one of those things that you have to be careful in. Yes, I had to get pasta on my own. Man, it's so good. It's so good alone. It's so good with sauce. It's so good with butter, cheese. It's just so good. My understanding is the portion size in the US are bigger than in Europe. I'm not sure we have portion sizes here, Peter. People just eat and eat and eat and eat. You go here in Boston to the North End, which is just all Italian restaurants, like real Italian restaurants. The portion sizes are insane. Like three people could split a meal, and yet we'll eat that whole portion ourselves. So yeah, yeah, there's no portion control here. But man, is that good, that pasta that's homemade? Amazing. My mother-in-law made the best homemade pasta. The best. Mm. Yeah, I'm with you, Debbie. So I believe that's true. Yes, we did better with a low sodium and low sugar. Yeah, need to cut the sugar out. So who? Oh, it was Mike. Mike who was having the problem with sodium. Mike, curious to know how you're doing with that. Have you been tested again since you've been on this new path? Boy, you're all nailing it. High protein, high fat, eggs, etc. Right on. I could talk Abby about all this for hours. We've been duped by big money, long story, but you're spot on, Lorian. Yeah, 100% pops. And I don't think anybody can argue with us. It's all about the money, right? The lobbyists go in, whether it's to these schools, like I talked about, into these, like the health facilities, whatnot. It's all about the money. And it's not till decades later that you found out it really wasn't healthy for you. You know, any, I won't say that. Never mind. Yes, the portion size here in America is huge, in my opinion. I can barely eat all my food at restaurants. Yeah, 100% am. Yep, that's just what I was saying. Thanks, Allie. I will look into low sodium. I have half my sugar intake and caffeine too. Yeah, I would say at least half my sugar intake. But I would like to cut out all sweets. My sodium, I don't, I've never watched that. Um, Not that it matters, but I use the Himalayan salt versus like the regular table salt. I have heard that that's a bit better, but I don't know. But uh, man, I love salt. So, Peter, you will find the statistic shocking. 40 to 50% of all food prepared in the US, both home and commercially, ends up thrown away in the trash. I believe that, Scott. 100% I believe that. Pops, maybe you could do a video talking about it. Yeah, just be careful what you say, Pops. Pops, the number of things we are on the same page about is endless. Scott, it's shocking but not surprising. UK is the same. They are, but they're still a little bit a step above us for whatever reason. For whatever reason, they are as far as some of the stuff they allow in their food, Peter. Otherwise, I'd say, yeah, they're right in line with the US. Yes, Miss M. Granny and I share one portion at restaurants now and have leftovers. Oh my goodness, yeah, 100%. According to Banquet, I'm a family of four. Oh, you mean those dinners there, Daryl? I may do that one day, Peter. Oh, make a video. Yeah, yeah. Yep. But I listen to my body, and when I'm full, I stop eating. That's the key. That's the key, Em. Thank you for saying that. We we all know when we're full, unless you're eating this, this junk food, this processed food that is designed to make you keep eating it. You know when you're full, and then you just keep eating. You're like, oh, you feel awful afterwards. Awful. We've all done it. If no other time we've done it at Thanksgiving, everybody's done it at Thanksgiving. I think there's also something to be said about the correspondence between a good diet and appropriate levels of exercise or physical activity. Yeah, both. I think I read that. Both Jen had said that and Peter Attia had said that. You can't have one without the other. You need both. And when we're talking about the exercise chapter, remember, it doesn't have to be a formal exercise routine. It can just be movement. When you go to the store, park at the furthest spot from the entranceway and walk. Take the stairs instead of taking an elevator. Find ways to increase your daily movement. It does not have to be a formal exercise program. Hey, Glenn, how are you, hon? How about that, Scott? We definitely need to get together one day, brother. No, fruits have sugars. Yes, they do, but they're different. But yes, you got to be careful how much fruit you eat because it does have a lot of sugar. Hello. Well, then, I've been lied to my entire life that fruits are healthy for you. They're they're healthy than like the junk food, but you still have to watch what you eat with the fruits. Because the other thing about fruits is, again, um, what's done to them while they are being grown, right? Some fruits are injected with things so that they have a tastier, a more sweet flavor. Not everything is as natural as you would like to think it is. Some things aren't as organic as you would think a fruit should be. So, cheap vitamin scam, another great topic. When I talked about, yeah, you got to be careful. I mean, yeah, there's a lot I could say there, but 100% pops. Fruits are healthier than sweets, right? Uh, Fruits, another great topic. You need to do a whole series, pops, right? You got your fruits, you got, you know, um, them saying that fat's bad for you, right? The lobbyists going in. There's so much you could do. The vitamins, none of it's regulated. None of it's regulated. The best thing I can do is not eat. Oh no. Drinking cups of melted butter. What happened to all those things in moderation? I don't know about that idea. I know exactly what he's talking about. I've seen it. I've seen it in different shorts. Yes, Lori, I have a Dexcom monitor. Dexcom monitor is connected to my phone. I constantly monitor my blood sugar. So, yeah, I want to get one of those, Kathy, because I used to love grapes, and I always go back to my grape story. I mean, I could eat grapes until the cows come home, and as long as they're hard and they're just that good flavor. Some of them, yeah. But I've heard that a lot of grapes are really, really bad because they're nothing but sugar bombs, and I'd love to see what it actually does to my blood sugar. So I'd love to get a monitor sometime. I eat an apple and orange every day. I'm down 120 pounds and my blood sugar is 117 over 70. You know what they say about an apple a day. Yeah. See, and that's good. That's good. That's all in moderation, Glenn. And congrats on you for being down 120 pounds. That is no easy feat. Wow. Lower carbs helps. Carbs break down to sugars during digestion. Yeah, he said something about that, right? Did I read that? Thought I read something. So the fiber that's in the fruits and vegetables, it helps with the absorption that feeds your gut microbiome, and it's just processed differently in your system. And see, that's the other reason that you need to exercise when you eat these, when you eat fruit, you eat any of this, because then your body will use um, that glucose, right, from the fruit immediately, versus if you don't expend enough energy to use that glucose that's in your body, then that's when it gets stored. That's when it gets stored as fat. That's why you need both. Just out of curiosity, what is your favorite apple? Are you asking everyone, Sally? Mine is Honeycrisp. Salt is another one. You need a lot of salt, but again, the right kind. The regular salt, 99% use is worthless. Yeah, that's the table salt, right, Pops? We use a Himalayan, that pink Himalayan salt. I mean, I hope it's better. There's a lot of misconception about weight loss when actually a priority should be fat loss rather than weight loss. Well, that's true too, Peter, because you don't want to lose the muscle, you don't want to lose bone density, right? Um, you want to lose the fat. And when you diet and you don't do things to continue with maintaining your muscles or strengthening your muscles, then muscle, especially as you get older, is the first thing you lose when you're on a diet. I think we all know that. There you go, Em. Honeycrisp, yes. Jonah Gold is my favorite apple. Do you know, Debbie? So I've never heard of that. I have never ever heard of that. You can eat whatever you have faith for if you do so with a thankful heart. Cosmic crisp, honey crisp, but just about any. You're a gala girl, huh, Sally? 100%. Everything tastes different than back in the day. Was that from my question, Mike, about your sodium journey? I've never heard of those. See, I've never heard of them either. Maybe it's a local apple to Virginia. Yes, Mike, some of the foods that we eat today are genetically modified. Yes. Yep, that's what I was just saying. It's a cross between Golden Delicious and Jonathan apples. I don't think I've heard of Jonathan apples. I've heard of the Golden Delicious, which are very good, which are very good. Does it does a little bit, Rhonda. It didn't talk a whole lot, and I didn't pull out anything in my notes about it, and I certainly don't remember. But I do remember they talked about it slightly. And Jen didn't talk about it either in her note. But yeah, right? The preservatives too that go into some of this stuff. My mom, boy, did she know how to cook. Yeah, most people, I think of my mother-in-law. Amazing, right? Amazing. They had very little and they knew how to turn something so ordinary into something so extraordinary, and the taste was just amazing. Mhm. Mine too. How am I? Oh, okay, I'm getting a little bit behind. You two must be working again. Well, I need to scoot and put my laundry away. Bye, Em. I'm glad you could pop in, hun. Yes, we will see you soon, honey. Bye, bye, bye. My mom is not a great cook. I asked her how long I can keep chicken in the fridge for, and she said a week. Well, after a week, I opened the fridge and the chicken was dead. Are you hanging out with Oki there? Ah, that was good, Peter. I tried to teach Daryl what a portion size of ice cream is. Yeah, well, we have this ice cream place up here, Sally, and they actually sell some. It's so stupid. They sell something now called a half kitty size because it's so stupid. If you just got like a regular kitty, man, it's like three, four scoops of ice cream, and I'm not exaggerating. It's so dumb. It's so dumb. But it's also like $6 for a kitty. But but I am really proud of him. He does not eat ice cream anymore at night. So that's a start. Yeah, especially late at night. Your body needs time to start winding down before it goes into that rest mode of digestion. Ice cream is my downfall. I cut out soda pop, fast food, and sweets. Cutting those three things definitely make you feel better and start losing weight. 100%. Because, like I said, even with me cutting out 50% of the desserts, like I don't have dessert. I used to have dessert every night. I am embarrassed to say, but man, It is hard. Those farms, I mean, those pies from the farm or the homemade ice cream. But I'm getting better. But yes, you just cut those out. Just cut those out. Not even the sugar that's in other things like the barbecue sauces or in the ketchup or anything like that. You just cut out the sweets. Yes, you will lose weight. Agreed, Glenn. At the store, the best place to park is next to the shopping cart corral so that it's easy to put the cart in the right place. Yeah, Scott, except nobody else does. I mean, you can I there are carriages right near the corral, like one spot over, and people cannot walk the 10 feet and put the carriage away, which is one of the primary reasons I walk so far away, I mean, park so far away, is because I've had a couple cars get dinged by these carriages. Man, people can be so lazy. So everybody should walk the cart back. It's not that big of a deal. Glenn, I don't know how you cut out sweets with your wife, who is the best baker in the entire world. Oh, that's a good point, Sally. Your house always smells heavenly. Fruit is very healthy. For example, I have half an apple pie in the fridge with my name. Nice try, Scott. Sugar is more addictive than cocaine. 100%. Yes, it is. And do you know what's even more addictive to sugar, which we'll talk about in the last chapter, is cortisol. But yes, sugar's extremely addictive. I love bugs, bet. I have to park in the back. If someone parks too close to me, I can't get the car door open far enough to slide into the seat. Yeah, right? My goodness, these people. But it is cheaper. It's raining love bugs. Same here. Did you get hit by the love bug, Allie girl? Yes, Allie, it's love bug season again. Are you out fishing, Allie? And the love bugs are everywhere? They come every 6 months. I never knew what a love bug was, and I was down visiting my oldest daughter in Florida once, and her car was covered. I'm like, what is all over your car? That was my first introduction to love bugs. I'll stick with the salty roads and the sand and whatnot. Yeah, the bugs everywhere. Mm, I hate the love bugs. I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with love bugs. What are they? I know they're in Florida, Sally. I don't know where else they may be, but like I said, my daughter's car was, I mean, covered in them. So I guess you're driving down the highway or driving down the roads because they're everywhere that you get covered. In England, we call them ladybirds. Is that really a bug? I hope you don't mean birds. I love birds. My first caucus being love grapes. I'm far behind. Then I heard that you're not supposed to feed, no, you're not supposed to feed dogs grapes. But she lived to be 17. So who knows? Sally will probably find out that's not true either. But no, I've heard you're not supposed to give dogs grapes. Love bugs are an invasive insect that appear every 6 months in Florida. They fly in pairs as they mate and splatter all over your windshield. This is all over her car. I don't get to eat the cookies, and Dane actually cooks very healthy for our dinners. I bet she's an amazing cook, Glenn. Oh my, never heard of them. We have ladybugs here. Yeah, ladybugs are cute and they're tiny, though I don't like them in my house. That is so sad, Scott. Imagine hitting a windshield while mating. Honey Crisp. Yep, they're the best. I agree. Look up Florida love bugs. They're big too, aren't they? Aren't they big? Sometimes you're a bug and sometimes you're the windshield. That's good, Debbie. So yes, a couple of years ago when we got these bugs called lantern bugs. They are the ugliest moth-looking bug you've ever seen, and they invade. I don't think I've seen those either, Sally. With salt, I'm not sure if the Himalayan pink salt is healthier than the regular salt. Iodine is an essential part of the human body. I'm going to have to look into that because I don't know. I mean, like I said, I've been told things, but I need to listen to my own self and do some research. Hey, Tyler, how are you, sweetie? Hell no, GMO. Yes. Uh, Fast for 30 days. It works. You'll be dead. Wouldn't you be dead for 30 days? Though my daughters have both done a 72-hour fast and they swear by it, though nobody wants to be around them after about 16 hours. Um, but they swear by it. And I have heard, and I'm not going to make any claims on my live stream here because YouTube will shut me down worse than they already have. But I have heard some amazing stories come out of folks who have fasted for 72 hours. I mean, amazing stories. Um, and with one person that I know. So, uh, hello, darling. How are you? Follow Mark Hyman. He's really big on cutting out preservatives. I felt the best when I did his 19-day detox while food. Let me write his name down. Um, Rhonda. Mark. His name sounds familiar, but I can't picture him. But I will look into him. I am always curious. Curious, curious. You meant 10-day detox. I'm doing great. I had to go into the office today, so I couldn't join your live. Oh, you popped in, so thank you. Rhonda, you should start a group and teach us all. Yeah. Maybe you do that. Maybe do a 10-day detox, Rhonda, and we'll do a challenge with you. Did Tracy do something like that? She cut out sugar for so many days. I don't remember how many, but fasting restarts your body 100%. 100%. And I was talking a little bit about that, Tyler. Not sure when you joined, but after my cancer treatments, that was one of the things that I had added to my healing journey was the autophagy and the intermittent fasting so that my body could go into autophagy and eat any of the bad, or sick cells, whatever you want to call them. But yes, I have heard amazing stories after a 72-hour fast. You have a lot of followers that are trying to eat healthier. That's a great idea since it's a big part of self-improvement. I think you should, Rhonda, do it, even that 10-day challenge of a detox. I think that would be amazing. And I think there's power in numbers, right? In the sense of, I think if we could hold each other accountable and there to support each other, I think that would be amazing. Uh, Look at that. It's all about accountability. I'm driving, my car is completely covered. You could do a Zoom meeting. Yeah. If I think we'd have to meet every day. But yeah, think about it, Rhonda. Think about how you would do it. I know I would do it. I fasted for 4 days and man, your body feels so good. You have to drink water and bone broth, but it's good. You did 4 days. Good for you, Tyler. I'd love to talk to you about that. My daughters did 3 days each. I don't know anybody that's done four. Is Mark the one who does carnivore? No, it's the Whole Foods. Fasting another grade. That it is an amazing topic, Pops, and I don't think there's enough info or enough talk about it, but I think it's starting to get out there. Um, and the other thing that Jen and I were talking about, and I'll just say this, I know we're at the end here, but a lot of these research studies that are done, um, even studies that are specifically for women, are not studied on women. Um, there's very little known about women and their bodies. um, Even to this day, even if they say there's been a woman's study done and it tells you, I forget the example we use, but XYZ, Jen was telling me that they were actually giving men female hormones to study on men. I mean, it's crazy. There's just not a lot of research known about women in our bodies. So I think, Rhonda, anything you did and you documented it, and I think if you could get a group of us together, I mean, it doesn't have to be a large group. I think actually the smaller, more controlled, it would be better. But um, I don't know. I think you could be onto something. Uh, oh, wait, where am I? Can type 2 diabetics fast? I always forget to ask my doctor. Yeah, I don't know, Sally. I once fasted a week, nothing but water. What a rush. Wow, a week. Man, I'm so impressed with you guys. When you say what a rush, I mean, did you just feel like how old were you, first of all, when you did it? Did you feel on top of the world like you were invincible? And when did you, because I know there's a part that you crash, like you're just like, oh, you go through that hunger cycle and then you go through that tired cycle. How long does it take to get through those? No sugar, gluten, dairy, no preservatives. I will pray about doing a 10-day detox hole. Pops, would you do it again? Sally, I cannot fast due to my diabetes. Yeah, because you have to keep your sugar, right? I guess now that you're saying that out loud, Kathy, I would imagine you have to keep your sugar in certain guardrails, right, on each side. You don't want I guess your sugar levels to drop. Fasting also clears your mind, helps weed out brain functions. It does. It 100% does. And the other thing that I've just started reading about and looking into is I know we've all heard of the microplastics that are in our body. Well, there's microplastics actually in your brain too that are really hindering our brains. Um, and one of the things is, I think I shared this now that I'm talking about it, is kimchi. Kimchi is one of those things that can help um, process these microplastics out of your body, including the ones that are in your brain. It's crazy. It is just crazy, the stuff that's going on in our bodies that we have no idea about. Um, Fasting is in the Bible. Yes, it is, Tyler. Just now, did you say that before I said it, Peter? Yeah, there's not a lot known about women. 100% no. Kathy, do you have type 2 diabetes? Peter does. Kathy does. Does your doctor allow you to fast? I think Kathy said she couldn't, Sally. I was 38. It was a long story. It's a long story. Maybe you should document it though, Pops. That's still something, man. Although it is recommended to consult a doctor for making any dietary changes. Yes. Were you sick? I was very hungry the first 12 hours, but I got my mind busy and just focused on everything else but food. How did you do that, Tyler? I mean, yeah, I can definitely go a day, no problem. I can go a day, no problem. I go 16 hours, no problem. Um, but beyond that, no. Yeah, that hunger sets in, man. And I tried to convince myself that those hunger pains were actually good, like, and they are good, but like I was trying to make it sound like, yes, that's what I want. That's what I want to feel. My brain just wouldn't go for it. I've been thinking about it. My son recently did a 2-week fast. Crazy, nothing but water, but you got to be careful. I need to talk to you before you do it. Tricky. Yeah, I mean, I could imagine, even when my daughters did the 3 days, they really said those 3 days, you can't, they're both extremely active, right? They're both training for Ironman and they're trail runners and mountain climbers. But like, you can't do anything while you're fasting. Nothing strenuous. But I'm hearing 7-day fast, 14-day fast. Oh my goodness, how do you just even live day to day on a 14-day fast? Oh, look at that. I am at the end. CL, I have a work colleague with type 2 diabetes. He does fasting as part of his religion. I'm not sure how he does it though. Yeah, I guess I guess it's like anything, right? Especially if you're monitoring your sugar. I definitely start with talking to your doctor, and then from there, you have to keep an eye on your sugar, keep an eye on how your body feels. I think your body tells you more. Um, we just have to be tuned into it more than I think we are. Okay, I'm just going to read Thought Your. I thought about doing a camping trip without food for a video, but don't know how Brooks would handle it. Oh no, kids got to have food. Kids got to have food. All right, sorry. I didn't unpack my bag completely from the lake. What's the date today? 28th. Another short one. It says, do something nice for near future you. Near future you deserve it. That's it. Do something nice for near future you. So the tomorrow you. What does tomorrow's you need? Do it today because you deserve it. That's it. That was the whole reading. Okay, folks, thank you so much for joining. This was great. This was a really good conversation. And next week is going to be good too because it's about sleep. I might combine it with emotional. I got to do my notes, so I haven't done my notes yet for those last two chapters. But I might combine it so that then the following week we can start something new. But I also want to give it its airtime and make sure we cover what we need to cover. All right, folks, I hope you have an amazing day. What's today? Thursday. So Allie goes live tonight at 8 p.m. And tomorrow at 4 p.m., Tyler and Sally are on at 4 p.m. Eastern. And that's all I can think of right now. So, all right, guys, enjoy your day. All right. And I'll see you soon. I love you guys so much. Take care.
Thank you, Lord. Thank you that every person listening to this, whether they are here today or finding this days from now, is seen by you. Thank you that no one here is invisible. Thank you that no one is alone even when they feel like they are. Thank you, Lord, for the one to sit quietly, who never type a word but show up faithfully. Thank you that they are loved. Thank you that they belong here. Thank you that this community holds space for them, just as they are. Thank you for providing for those who are struggling financially. Thank you that you are their source, not their job, not their bank account, but you, Almighty Father. We praise you. Thank you the doors are opening, that needs are being met. The provision is coming in ways they didn't expect. Please, Lord God, help them see this. Thank you for healing. Thank you for the bodies that are being restored, the energy that is returning, the pain that is lifting. Thank you, dear God, for clarity, for those who have been searching for answers about their health. Thank you that you are the God who heals. And thank you for this community, this beautiful, imperfect, faithful group of people who show up for each other.